So the experts are saying that within 10 to 15 years here in America, folks, this is America. This is the most Christian nation that has ever existed, right?
No. Most Christian nations ever existed? No, I'm sorry. Have you heard of the Holy Roman Empire before?
But in 10 to 15 years, less than a majority of Americans will even identify as Christians.
Americans. Now, this is Richard Harris. He is a far-right Christian nationalist nutcase. And it's so fascinating to listen to the things he has to say. So he's telling us that he believes that Christianity is basically going to die in the United States, right? There won't be Christianity anymore in the U.S. Yeah, I think Richard Harris is just a Christian nationalist. I don't think he's a representative. I wasn't sure.
Identify as Christians. And this is why the left is saying America's a post-Christian nation, right?
Who's saying that? Who's saying America is a post-Christian nation? You know, America was specifically, intentionally set up not as a Christian nation. It was set up that way on purpose. The First Amendment wasn't really just to protect religious liberty. Do you know why the First Amendment was put in there in the first place? Because it was a method of guaranteeing that whatever the lawyers, the congressmen, whatever the legislature, the Supreme Court, or whatever anybody does, they cannot favor one religion over another religion. They can allow certain things to happen through like bills or whatever, but they have to allow it for everybody. They cannot discriminate against anybody. So they can't say, you must teach from the Bible specifically in history class. They can't say that according to the Constitution. But they can say, you must teach from holy books in the class. You're not favoring one religion over another. You're just favoring religion. But that means the Satanists can get in there and teach kids from their holy book in history class. That's the point of the First Amendment, to make it so that if they favor one religion, then all religions are favored. It opens the door for everybody. That's the point of it. The Founding Fathers specifically, explicitly did not create a Christian nation, intentionally set out to not do that. But okay, go on.
Right? But I want to say to you today, we need to pay attention to these numbers. Albert Einstein said that the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, even if it's failing. Right?
Is that real? Did he really say that? It looks like Einstein, there's no evidence that he really said that, apparently, according to the AI on Google. All right, here we go. History.com. A favorite of politicians and pretty much everybody else. This quote has been wrongly attributed to Benjamin Franklin as well, but there's no evidence either of them said it. The ultimate quotable Einstein, an authoritative complication, I think it means compilation, of his most memorable utterances, identified the quote as a misattribution and mentioned its use in the 1983 novel Sudden Death by Rita Mae Brown. On his website, quote, investigator, O'Toole traced the link between insanity and repetition back to at least the 19th century, but noted its use in a Narcotics Anonymous pamphlet, as well as novels, including Brown's, TV shows, and various other sources. So, Einstein did not say that, as far as I can tell. So it's the little things. I was writing my book about Hitler, was Hitler an atheist? I came to find that, I understood the subject well enough that I felt that I could. The book's out, by the way, Amazon.com, if you want to check it out. I felt that I could kind of ad-lib things, figure it out, and trust that I was probably going to get it right pretty most of the time. Like, if I'm reading about Bonhoeffer's history and I come across this story, I figure I can probably recite the story from memory reasonably accurately. Turns out that's not true. I cannot do that. Every time I tried to do that, I went back and fact-checked myself all the way through the book. I was wrong every time. You never realize how much you get wrong until you start fact-checking it. Even little simple basic things like this thing about Einstein. You never know which little things you're going to get wrong.
And said that the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, even if it's failing, right? So here we are in America in the church, and we're doing the same things over and over again. And I want to ask this question: is it working?
I don't know what he thinks he's doing.
You say, Richard, what do you mean, is it working? Is the way we're doing church working? Is the way
is working for some people.
We're trying to fulfill the Great Commission working.
Oh no. The Great Commission, of course, being evangelizing, bringing in new converts. Knocking on their doors and trying to cram it down their throats the old-fashioned way isn't working. So let's do what the other gigantic Christian nation did, right? Is that what he's going to say?
Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be able to see that, no, it's not working. All right, so if it's not working, then let's ask the next question, which is, what are we doing wrong?
Here we go.
The first myth that is hindering our fulfillment of the Great Commission is the idea that there is a separation of church and state, that Christians and the church have no influence over the government, that we're not supposed to be involved in politics or government.
Nobody said Christians aren't supposed to be involved in government or in politics. I certainly never said that. I don't believe that. You're a citizen of the United States. You should be involved in politics. Absolutely. I said Christian institutions should not use their influence like a weapon to force their way into government and impose religious expectations on people. What that means is, I don't want to see a pastor stand up at his church, at his pulpit or whatever, and endorse a specific politician and speak to that politician and tell him, I will endorse you if you agree to force students to read the Bible as homework every day. There's a quid pro quo between religion and state that ends badly every single time. Every time. There are no cases in which religion forced its way into government and it ended well. Either religion just stopped meddling and moved on, or it ate itself alive, the whole system. As a U.S. citizen, you should be involved. As a Christian, you should be involved. As an institution, as a church, as a body, you should not impose your influence, or you should not use your influence to your advantage against the state.
This is a lie straight from the pit of hell. It is a myth that is greatly hindering our effectiveness.
This is just disgusting. This is absolutely insane. This kind of pseudo-historical revisionist nonsense is everywhere. I started looking into this a while back. You would be blown away by the stuff that I find. Like, there's this guy, David Barton. He's like the chief propagandist for this stuff. He is the main vector, like patient zero of a lot of this pseudo-historical garbage. He did this movie or this seminar series or something forever ago, and I think in the 80s maybe, or the 90s, that's still played for church kids today, where it talks about the country having Christian roots and all of the founding fathers praying before blah, blah, blah. It's all made up nonsense, all of it. He's lying through everything. And I don't believe that he's just an idiot. I think he's knowingly, consciously, intentionally lying, in my personal opinion. But here's just one quick example of David Barton spreading this exact propaganda that Richard Harris was spreading just now.
Hell, it is a myth that is greatly hindering our effectiveness.
Listen to this example of David Barton saying the exact same thing.
So say there's some religious activity in public. Maybe somebody wants to pray over their lunch at school and they're told they can't do that. And they say, oh, you can't do that because of separation of church and state.
Who would say that? Who has ever said that? Nobody said that. Nobody is prevented from praying over their lunch at school. He can't possibly think this is true. He can't, right? He knows that if he laid out the facts as they really are for everybody to see, nobody would give a shit. They'd recognize that he is freaking out over nonsense. Not only that, they'd realize that he's trying to push society to an even more extreme position. So realizing that he'll have zero support if he lays out a truthful representation of the situation, he feels compelled to lie about it. He can't represent it truthfully or nobody will care. If a kid was told you cannot pray over your food in school because of separation of church and state, I'd have a problem with that. If that was the law, I would have a problem with that. Everybody agrees that that is bad. Every single person. That's not what's happening. It isn't even teachers that aren't allowed to. Nobody is prevented from doing this. Nobody. Not one person.
Is that what separation of church and state really means? They will say yes here.
Who is they? No, they wouldn't.
Here's the way you respond. Number one, where does that phrase come from? And when they say the Constitution, you say, would you please read it for me? Because when they go there,
Yeah, oh, sure, yeah, we'll read it. I'll read it for you. Let's read it. The separation of church and state, also known as the Establishment Clause. First sentence of the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. There you go. That's it. That's the Establishment Clause, also known as the Separation of Church and State Clause.
where does that phrase come from? And when they say the Constitution, you say, would you please read it for me? Because when they go there, they'll never find it.
So I guess since the words separation of church and state are not in the Constitution, that means the entire idea is invalid, right? So gun rights, the words gun rights are not in the Constitution either. And that means gun rights don't exist because of that, I suppose.
Does not appear anywhere in the Constitution. And the second thing you do is, wait, we just read the Constitution. It says Congress shall make no law. How does a kid praying over their lunch mean the same as Congress?
It doesn't. Nobody thinks this. Nobody wants this. This is a fictitious scenario that you made up in your head to feel like you're persecuted.
Making a law. And the third thing you ask them is, and by the way, if praying over your lunch is so bad, why did we do it for 180 years?
This is all just a lie. Like, we've done it for 250 something. How many years? How old is the country now? 250 years, I think. We've done it this whole time. It's never stopped. Everybody has always been allowed to pray over their lunch at school.
Under the Constitution, and it's only been in recent years that we have not done that. Did we just invent separation of church and state? No, it's been there from the beginning, but we've twisted it to mean something that it doesn't mean. So if you ask them those three questions, you can win your argument.
This is so stupid, dude. It is so incredibly stupid. God, these people drive me nuts. Anyway, back to Richard Harris. That's where Harris gets a lot of his ideas, from David Barton. So you're going to hear a lot of those ideas repeated. Now check this out. Harris goes on Andrew Womack's TV show. Andrew Womack is a pastor on the Victory Channel, which is like Kenneth Copeland's TV network. So anyway, let's listen to what he has to say here.
Why did our founding fathers put, so you've got the First Amendment, and it's the first of the Bill of Rights, but inside the First Amendment, there's 5 rights, and the first of the 5 is religion.
No, it's not.
Freedom of religion. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment.
Right. It's not freedom of religion. The Establishment Clause bars Congress from making any laws that favor one religion over another. So it's not freedom of religion. It's protection of the state from religion. But okay.
Of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So why did the founders put religious freedom the first of the first of the first?
Great question, Richard. Well, obviously, where you stand with God is the most important of life's questions.
They live in another universe. That is not why they put that in the front. And it's not even about that. My God, dude. The First Commandment contradicts the First Amendment. You can have one. Either you can respect the First Amendment and the religious freedom that it guarantees to you, or you can respect the First Commandment and prevent anybody from leaving the religion, only worshiping Yahweh, basically. These ideas are everywhere. Like, David Barton's influence on the world cannot be overstated. There's something called the Black Robe Regiment. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. The Black Robe Regiment was a group of pastors in the Revolutionary War that would preach all morning, and then they'd take their robes off and they would bring their church out back of the building for rifle training. They would put on like military uniforms and train them into a full regiment that can be plugged into a larger army, like a battalion. You know, you got like 10 churches, you put them together and get a battalion. You know, one is a company or a squad or whatever. Anyway, that was a Black Robe Regiment. Except that's not real. That never happened. That was a fabrication by David Barton. He made it up. The term didn't appear, Black Robe Regiment, until David Barton's book. That was the first appearance of it. If you look it up in like Google Books, you can search through books for terms or words or whatever. The first appearance is David Barton's book. So the dude he's not just like spreading propaganda. He's making things up. He's spreading lies, full-blown disinformation. It's gone so far that it's reached the lieutenant governor candidate of Indiana, I believe, is who this is. Micah Beckwith is his name. Listen to this one. This is from late October 2024.
James Madison, the father of our Constitution, drew inspiration for the three branches of government from this passage of Scripture, Isaiah 33.
No, he didn't. That's a lie.
22. For the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, and the Lord is our king, and it's he who will save us. The judicial branch, the legislative branch, and the executive branch. You saw it right there in whole.
No, it's a lie. The whole thing is a lie. He's lying about literally all of this.
The Scriptures. The Bible was the most quoted book of our founders.
No, it wasn't.
Deuteronomy was the most quoted book of the Bible that
No, it wasn't.
the founders went to in creating the law of our land. And James Madison, the father of the Constitution, pulled the three branches right from God's holy word.
My God, dude. You know, constitutions existed before the U.S. Constitution, and they looked pretty similar across different constitutions. They all had kind of a similar framework, a similar structure, if you will. And the people that wrote the Constitution of the United States were largely educated lawyers, some of them, those types of people. They were using old literature, like on democracy and how it operates and the best way to do this and that. They were working off of theory, like political theory, not off of the Bible. That is dumb as dog. If they had been operating off of the Bible, it would have been a dictatorship. Thomas Jefferson intentionally, specifically set up the United States as a secular nation. And it was, as a matter of fact, the first secular country in the world ever on this scale of this size. No other country had ever done this to this scale. And it worked out really, really well until they started until religion started shoving their way into government, that is. Check this one out. Congressman Keith Self.
The founding fathers were Christians. They were not deists. They were believers.
They were deists. That means deists were basically atheists at the time, because atheism didn't really exist to any degree. Deists were just people who didn't care and didn't know and just thought maybe something sparked it into existence and walked away, but it's certainly not involved now.
And they have given us a wonderful constitutional republic based on the rule of law, based on the principles. And you can take most of our laws back to the Bible.
No, you can't. Complete lie. Again, lie after lie after lie from David Barton.
Why is our president supposed to be natural born? It's because that's what God required of the leader of the Israelites.
Actually, it's because they didn't want foreign influence creeping into the U.S. government. Had nothing to do with the Bible. And is this even true? You had to be a natural born citizen in Israel to be the king or whatever? Like, I don't even know if that's how the political structure worked. Probably not. This dude has no idea what he's talking about.
That's what God required of the leader of the Israelites in the Old Testament. Lots of our laws are based on the Bible.
No.
In fact, absolutely most of them.
No. Anyway, these people are so full of it drives me insane. But listen to this guy, Rob McCoy on the left, televangelist, complete nutcase. And he's talking to David Barton, and he spreads more lies.
Get everything this man has ever written, every sermon he's ever preached, observe it, follow it. You will be stronger for it. Any final words you want to share? Because I just want everyone to know how much I appreciate, adore, and thank God for you.
Yeah, they're at TPUSA. Wow. Turning point. So they're at a Republican conference talking about how Jesus or how the Bible influenced government so much. It's nuts.
Yeah, final words is I'm going to tell everybody you need to read the Bible more often than you do. I don't care how often you read it, it's not often enough. Number two, you need to memorize it a whole lot more than you do. We show people right now that in 1816 in New Jersey public schools, every public school kid by the second grade had memorized the Gospel of John.
That's a lie.
Public schools.
That's a lie. And I have proof of it. We're going to hit Rob McCoy again in a second. But since he brought this up, I totally forgot that was in this clip. Just listen to David Barton expand on that claim again.
If you look at the annual report for the public schools of New Jersey in 1816, This is what they put out as the annual report. They're talking about the first and second grades. They call them the first and second classes. It says, all the scholars of the first and second classes commit to memory portions of the New Testament or Psalms, a lesson of the Catechism, several hymns, and the text of the preceding Sabbath. So,
Okay, now let's just use some critical thinking for a second here. All right. Do you think that they were calling second graders scholars? And why does he claim that they called them classes rather than grades? I've never heard that before. As it turns out, this is a lie. He's lying here. This was a Sunday school that was split into two separate classes, not grades, classes. And they were training these people to, I don't know, be pastors or something. I have no idea. I don't even remember. There's a whole big report, and you can read it. Right Wing Watch did a whole breakdown of it. I don't feel like it right now. The point is that he's lying. He can't not know that this is a lie, right? To have even found this data, to have even found this document about a church teaching classes in New Jersey in 18 whatever, to even find that in the first place, he must know that what he's saying right now is a lie.
every kid in first and second grade memorized that.
No, in the first and second classes.
By the way, what is the text of the preceding Sabbath? It's simple. Whatever Pastor Mike talked about last week, you memorize all the verses he mentioned in the sermon. By the way, that's probably not a bad idea to do. Figure out whatever verses he mentioned in the sermon, and through the week, try to memorize every verse that he talked about. That's what public schools were doing in New Jersey in 1816.
No, it's not. This is all the lies all the way down. This kills me. Dude just says this with impunity. Now back to Rob McCoy, who seems to think that this guy is just the even though, like, practically every word out of his mouth is a lie. Listen to Rob McCoy if you're unfamiliar. I mean, there's a massive web of pastors and televangelists and everything that are all tied into this, and the common node of disinformation is David Barton. Listen to McCoy here.
You mean to tell me that when Jesus said for one of these little ones to stumble, it'd be better for you to have a millstone tied around your neck and cast into the deepest ocean, and you're not willing to sit in a school board meeting to contend with the alphabet mafia?
The alphabet mafia.
That wants to tell you there's more than two genders, and that we're image bearers creating the image of God, and
Bro, you think that school boards are the place to argue gender theory with people? Like, this stuff is not being taught in classrooms. Get a grip on reality, I am begging you.
they're telling them that they're going to give them hormone blockers.
Who's they? Who is giving who hormone blockers? What are you talking about? None of this is happening.
And chemical castration that they won't even give to serial rapists in prison because it's inhumane, and we're going to permit that in our city?
This is insane. First of all, chemical castration isn't allowed in prisons, or I don't think it's allowed, because it's a violation of bodily autonomy. Nobody can force you to do something with your body, basically. That's sacrosanct. Like if you get into a car accident and you wake up in the hospital and you've got a needle in your arm and it's going into this other person, feeding them a blood transfusion. They never asked you. They didn't ask permission from anybody. They just did it. You have full rights to pull that out of your arm and sue the shit out of the hospital. Even if the person's going to die because of it, you're not responsible for that because of bodily autonomy. So anyway, that's why they won't give this to prisoners, if that's even true. I'm not sure, because of bodily autonomy. Now, people that choose to have bottom surgery are making that decision for themselves because they want to. It's not a violation of bodily autonomy. Also, bottom surgery does not happen for people under 18. It does not happen. To my knowledge, it has always been illegal in the United States to give somebody under 18 bottom surgery. It's extremely uncommon to have anybody have any steps toward transitioning, aside from social transitioning, under 18 anyway. I mean, what percent of the country are we talking about? A fraction of a percent, right? Unfortunately, that fraction of a percent are having their lives ripped apart by these people.
Because it's inhumane, and we're going to permit that in our city, and you're telling me it's unchristian to participate? You are the one who's wrong if that's your position.
No, no. See, that's the thing. It's unchristian to make a fool of yourself and be an obnoxious idiot in front of a school board and scream about loving Donald Trump and hating trans people. And you know what? And hating anybody. You want to disallow something in your church? Disallow it. I have no authority over that. I have no say over that. Go ahead. Tell people they can't get gay married. Don't tell me I can't get gay married if I don't want to. That is unchristian. You shoving your nonsense down my throat. Jesus wanted people to come to him willingly, not by force. But okay.
We are called to do that. And I was thinking about the significance of this, contending in the public square for your neighbors. You know,
Brother, I don't want you contending in the public square for me. Thanks anyway. Stay home.
we talk about Hitler.
Oh my God.
And I say that because Whitmer rhymes with Hitler.
Oh my God, dude. Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, at the time, at the very least. By the way, I wrote a book about Hitler. It's titled, Was Hitler an Atheist? Check it out. It's on Amazon. It's on Audible. OwenMorgan.com. You can find it. Signed copies and everything on my website. So yeah, give that a look if you're interested. It's all about how Hitler interacted with Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses, Catholics, Protestants. Talks about Bonhoeffer in there. Anyway. Also, check out my Patreon and watch the video to the end if you can, a little bit longer than you normally would at least, because YouTube bases the algorithm off of watch time, so it makes a video go further if you watch more. Anyway, aside from the book, I love it that this guy somehow tied Gretchen Whitmer into Hitler. Is that the only thing that he could think of that they might have in common? That their names kind of sound a little bit similar? They don't even rhyme. Whitmer and Hitler. Whitmer and Hitler. I guess they kind of rhyme a little bit.
And I say that because Whitmer rhymes with Hitler.
She's just a Democratic governor. What did she do?
We have Governor Mussolini.
Governor Mussolini. Oh my God, dude. In what way are these people fascists? How are they like Hitler and or Mussolini? In what way? You know what this reminds me of? I'll tell you what this reminds me of. I'll show you, rather. 1 second. Let me find it. It's yeah, here you go. This is what this reminds me of right here.
Why'd you decide to come out here to the Trump rally?
Because I don't want that to be president. Pure and simple.
Are you talking about Kamala Harris?
Yeah, that Kamala Harris. Well, you an idiot.
And why are you calling her that word?
Because that's exactly what she is. I mean, I'd use the C word, but my mama hates it when I say that. So.
Right. And why do you think that?
Because that's exactly what she is. I mean, the proof's in the pudding.
Right.
Okay, well, give me the pudding then.
What has she done that makes you believe that?
What has she not done? What has she not done?
I'll take anything. That's the point here. These people are complaining about like Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom and all that.
We have Governor Mussolini.
What did he do that makes you call him fascist? What did he do that deserves the title matching that of a genocidal dictator? They have no idea. When pinned down, when their back's against a wall, and we're trying to force an answer out of them like this dude is doing right here from The Good Liars, they have nothing.
What has she done? She's done nothing. Her commercials are full bullshit.
So what's the one thing that she hasn't done, or the one thing that she has done that makes you call her that?
Communist. She's a communist.
Okay, well, what one thing? You can continue calling her names all you want. You can call her Gretchen Hitler all you want till you're blue in the face, but it doesn't mean she did anything. These people are in another dimension. It doesn't matter what these people have done. Kamala Harris has done nothing. People complaining that Harris is supporting a genocide in Palestine. No, she isn't. What are you talking about? She hasn't talked about this subject almost at all. We haven't seen what she'll do as the president. We have no idea what she'll do. As a matter of fact, there have been some news reports before she was running as president about her trying to move Biden to the left on Israel-Palestine. Nobody has any reason to hate Kamala Harris right now. None. Don't get me wrong. The propaganda machine will start whirring up eventually. and they'll come up with all kinds of ridiculous things, a bunch of ridiculous claims about her. The slander machine will make an appearance eventually, but it hasn't. There's nothing to complain about with Kamala Harris. Nothing. There's nothing to complain about with Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer or whatever. They're just normal people. What are you upset about? What justifies Rob McCoy calling them Hitler and Mussolini? These people are so full of... Let me know what you think in the comments.